How do you find a good graduate school? Here's my list of 10 things you should do to make it happen. Hi everyone, I'm Leigh from teachingacademia.com, and I'm all about giving you the tools you need to navigate academia to make your best impact. Today we're going to be talking about how do you find a good graduate school. I've got 10 tips for you. They are not in any specific order, all right? But they're 10 good ones, and it should help you land in a nice little pool of good graduate schools for you to consider applying to. So here we go. Number one, take your time, all right? Do not be looking for a graduate school at the last minute, right? Not the last month before, not the last 2 months before. Give yourself at least 6 months, more is fine, up to a year, to do the research and to do the things that I'm getting ready to outline for you, all right? Number two, rankings are one place to start. It's fine to use U.S. News and World Report, okay? It's fine to ask people for recommendations. It's a good starting place. It can help you sort of get your pool started, but don't let it be the be-all, end-all, all right? You don't want to go to a school simply because it has a good reputation if, as you see as we go through this list, some of these other factors are not in place, all right? Number three, look for programs that are going to help you meet your career goals. What kinds of classes are you going to be taking? What kinds of experiences are you going to be provided with? That is key. Number four, consider who the faculty are. If you're really interested, for example, my area is in adolescent literacy, I don't want to go to a graduate program that has nobody in adolescent literacy or literacy at large, okay? So how many faculty are there? Who are the people that you would be working with, interacting with, taking classes from? That's very important. What are their reputations? Look up their CVs. Maybe read some of their work, all right? See if they have any talks on YouTube. Check them out, okay? See if they're interesting. Number five, look at a lot of schools, all right? Now, you're not going to apply to all these schools, but look for 20 or 30 schools. They can be national, they can be international. It does not matter, all right? Cast a big, broad, wide net and start looking. And then over time, you're going to narrow this down to a reasonable pool of maybe 5 to 8 that makes sense for you, okay? Speak to faculty and current students. Now, I wouldn't do this for like all 20 schools or all 30 schools, but I would start to pick the ones that were floating to the top, and I would contact, there's usually a director of a PhD program or master's program, right? I would contact that person for starters to talk to them about their program, set up a time, right? Phone meeting, video conference, whatever. Ask for recommendations of students that you can email and speak with. If there are current graduates, maybe you can speak to them as well, just to get a feel of what the student experience is like. For example, when I first started investigating graduate schools, I went to where I was living at the time. I went down to check out the local university. I wasn't sure it was a good fit, but it was in the neighborhood, so I went down to meet with somebody. As I was waiting to meet with somebody, a current student sat down next to me and asked me, introduced herself, asked me who I was, what I was doing. And when I told her I was, gathering information to see if I would like to come there, apply there, she said, no, don't. This is not a good program. And then she started telling me, a lot of interesting things. So students can really enlighten you on particular aspects. And no, I did not apply to or attend that school. All right, next. Visit if you can, all right? So obviously visits are expensive. I'd be very selective about this. Sometimes they have funding to bring you in if you're interested. You can always ask about that. Sometimes if you're admitted, schools will then offer you funding to come and check them out before you decide if you want to come or not. So you can just ask about that. It can be very helpful to see where you'll be living and meet students and faculty in person, maybe even sit in on a class if that's possible. Number 8, I believe we're on, learn about funding, all right? How are you paying for this, okay? Are your classes paid for? Do you get a stipend? There's usually some expenses even with assistantships that you might have to pay for your own books. You might have to pay some small student fees. What can you expect in terms of stipend and what you might have to pay out of pocket? What does that look like, okay? And what are the expectations? Are there scholarships? Are you working? What's going on here? Okay, so find out about funding opportunities. Number 9, this goes along with funding, learn about assistantship opportunities. what research opportunities, research assistantship opportunities typically exist? What about teaching assistantship opportunities? Because even if you can't apply for a scholarship, you still at some point want research assistantships and teaching assistantships because they help you develop the skills that you need to be successful. So what do those look like? Okay. And then last but not least, make a spreadsheet as you're doing all of this. Make a spreadsheet. Keep notes on all these schools, compare, right, who offers what, how many faculty are there, who would you be working with, what do students say, what do we know about funding. That will help you start to sort of sift through what's important, what's more or less important to you, and what schools are going to bubble to the top. So those are my 10 tips for how you find a good graduate school. What are your thoughts? Okay, do you have other things that you think we need to be paying attention to? Head on down to the comments, share that information, and let's support one another on our academic journeys.